Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the
Fourth action!
Woo! So sometimes 3 actions are just not enough because I have 4 players to hit.
I mean, I tell you, I could use a couple extra actions in this battle.
Ooh,
I think we should get an action per character. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
I think 3 actions per enemy would be good.
Yeah. Yeah. And talk about enemies. Since we have gone down underground, or do we want to start? I mean, not to make. We don't want to make it like a recap of everything, but do we want to talk about Stagger in the Woods for a minute? Emily, did that creep you out as a person and Inara, or
not,
just
probably just like a little weird? I guess I don't know.
Yeah.
As a person, no. I mean, it's fine, but I mean, it's not fine.
I mean,
self-harm, never good.
Yeah, it's not.
But
It's
and
just
who would have thought it was?
Sorry. It's just an interesting insight into his character, I guess.
Yeah.
Because he's got a lot more going on than we thought.
Yeah, Stagger he's a deep character.
He kind of just likes making like sassy, sarcastic comments every once in a while. And then
Not him.
And who would have thought the character doing the self-piercing would have been Staggerman, not Boddy?
Yeah, no kidding.
Well, yeah, because he's a. I'm trying to think what they call his type of hobgoblin. They have the scars on themselves.
Stone, not stone-faced, but
Steel skin.
steel
Steel
skin.
skin, yeah, or they actually scar themselves in order to harden their skin. What does that do for you, Boddy?
It makes it easier for me to resist or recover from bleed damage, poison damage, like all the permanent persistent damage that happens over time. Like recently, Fawin.
Man, that would have been real handy in that one.
Yeah, if I were to get nailed, it would help me resist that and end those conditions.
Mechanically, does it give you like a +1 or something to your roll, or what?
It brings it down from a DC 15, and it's a flat check. That like everybody has a DC 15, so it's like a 25% chance. Brings mine down to DC 13, so it's a 35% chance to succeed.
That's cool.
Yeah, so it makes it a little easier for him to overcome that kind of stuff. Yep. Of course, I avoided all of it this time, so that didn't come into play.
Luckily,
Stacy, the nails and the purification, whatever we call that, the reckoning. Once again, is that kind of lifted from the module, or was that a Stacy Jones ad lib?
Well, the actual reckoning process is something that's not in the module, but it's in the lore of Golarion.
Oh, that's cool.
Each Hell Knight order has their own reckoning. The thing they do when they feel that they haven't been the Hell Knight they're supposed to be, that their honor has fallen short.
Yeah.
And so they essentially punish themselves. And
what's that called? Like an obedience, like their edicts and things.
Yeah. They have like these obedience, these things they have to do. If they fall short on them, they punish themselves. Now, what's interesting is you do get a bit of a benefit from that. You take damage, but you get a bit of a benefit from that. For example, he has a resistance of 2 on mental damage for the rest of the day.
Wild.
Yeah, and also, unless he attacks an intelligent undead down here, he won't be attacked. Like, all he has to do is just recite the code and measure, and they'll leave him alone.
Oh.
Maybe we need to learn this.
So that's why he's been doing nothing.
That's why they've avoided it.
That's why they've avoided him too. Is because of that chanting in the things that came out of the ossuary.
Very selfish of him, actually.
I think we have an alignment in sight.
But he gave it up to fight here.
Yeah, in the most recent episode, he gave it up to come to Inara's aid.
Yes.
We need to strap him to a shield and have him recite whatever he's doing and just throw him out there. Because then he's not attacking, they just won't do anything.
If Inara grabs him by the ankles and swings him in a circle, Is he attacking?
He's having to hold his sword out.
It's like the old joke, how much damage does a halfling do? Depends on who's swinging them.
Yeah, that's funny.
Yes.
So we came down the tunnel,
Yep.
Well,
and we
Yes, go ahead.
we did not loot at all. No looting.
No.
None.
But I'm
Well,
glad
maybe.
we decided to later.
Yeah. It took us forever to get through the secret door that brought us down here, though.
Yeah.
Oh, one other thing.
Yes.
As we were on our way to the tomb, Stagrim starts singing this song
Yes.
about a goblin last stand or losing a last stand. or
Yeah,
whatever.
it's about Hell Knights. There's a city was wiped out during the Goblin Blood Wars. They got someone within the city to betray them, to overthrow the gates, and the Goblin army just rushed in and slaughtered everyone. And the survivors ran for it, and there was a small contingent of Hell Knights who stayed behind and held the line to keep the goblins from overrunning the refugees.
So it was almost a good, happy story, but
Yeah.
the Hell Knights had to intervene.
Nice.
Yeah, and the song is known as Stagrim's Stand.
Oh, is that where Stagrim's we don't know that player-wise, I mean character-wise, but is that where Stagrim's father died?
Yes,
Oh.
he was the Marelictor, the man in charge of defending that city.
Those are some big shoes to fill.
Yeah, he's got some serious imposter syndrome, daddy
Yeah.
issues.
Daddy
I don't know what you
issues.
want to put it. Yeah.
I love the, it was in a earlier episode, maybe when Inara woke up, that you, as the DM, said something about how one of the party is missing. And you were referencing Stagrim.
Yes.
And I know that I was, on the inside, I was kind of like, is he really part of the party? but yet you're really taking this in. You've done this with all the NPCs. You're really fleshing this guy out. Like he's got
so
some
much fun.
Yeah.
He has a lot of potential.
But that's important, because otherwise the DM would get bored. Yeah. And then the only thing you'd have to brighten his day up would be to kill us. So, yes, flesh out those characters.
Well, the DM wants to play a character too.
Yeah. He wants to have a little fun.
Is Stagrim Stand Golarian lore or from your own brain?
That is Stacy lore.
Oh, that's very cool. That's very cool.
So he's not a part of the original module?
Well,
Or-
his father being Tay Stagrim, who died in the wars, yeah, but that's it. So
That's cool.
That's it.
And we've talked about before that, like, that moment when we met him in the demon training room, it could go a lot of different ways depending on how a party reacts to him. Yeah.
Oh yeah, very much. He could be an enemy. He could be a friend. He could be someone who just kind of goes, pfft, blows you off and leaves. You know, so
It's crazy.
And Inara's like, hey, dude.
That was awesome.
That's pretty
Yeah.
awesome, yeah.
Yeah.
hey man, you want to like kill some stuff and things? Sweet.
Combat, combat. You know, and it was very quiet. Speaking back to Inara being unconscious, but there was some things there. You might have to listen with headphones to hear it, but
There were
Yes.
some things.
there were some things that were
Yes.
muttered in
Some
in
mumbling.
your sleep.
Which did not match the flashback that we had either.
No, they did not.
Now, Pris, we know Pris is a sister, and we do see Pris in the flashback,
Yeah, little sister.
and she mumbles something about Pris and a fire? We haven't seen that yet. There's something else going on
Yeah,
there.
there might be some depth to her character.
Might have
I
burned
doubt
a
it.
few orphanages, you know. the typical backstory.
Plame's ears perked up. Fire? What?
So you tell me an orphanage might have been more dangerous than a bookstore.
I don't know if there's much that's going to be more dangerous than that bookstore, except for maybe these things that we're facing. Oh,
yeah.
Lord.
Yeah.
So we've run into some pretty horrific creatures down in the second level already.
Plame's not that bad.
But on the positive side, we left Wargy behind. So.
That's not really. I was really looking forward to killing that dog.
Yeah, we got floating skeleton heads. We've got, helmet ghoul, like specters. We have nasty halberd wielding skeleton dudes.
And even that first, that very first thing. that was a very interesting battle too, because it came crawling across the ceiling,
Yes, it
and they
did.
were all acting very smart. Like they were working to flank us, and
And then we had pretty birds with sparkles, which
Yes.
didn't really match the rest of the
No.
No, it
creatures.
does not.
but they possibly came from the other side of the hallway.
Yeah.
Yes,
Yes, they
where
did.
the Bumblebrashers were living and got chased out by monsters. So
Yeah, there's a
Yes.
whole other set of monsters.
a whole
you
other
guys
set of
haven't even
monsters. So
introduced
these are
yourselves to yet.
really this is 2 adventures in one here, because on the one half it's all seems to be undead. And every
Yeah.
room we go in seems to be worse than the last.
Which here I am metagaming all of a sudden.
Uh-huh.
So literally, you're right. You're right, Hal. So we have on the south side, we have the undead. But on the north side, we've had the birds came from there, and then Boddy also heard like a frog.
Yep.
So that tells me that the south side, I don't know if I want to say this or not. This is total
Go for it.
metagaming. That tells Brook that the south side is where Alcetta's ring is at. That's where the portal's at, because that's the side that the weird creatures that don't belong here are at.
Good point.
Or just
you
nature.
mean the north side?
Oh, yeah. The north
yeah.
side is where they're at. The south side is where the undead are at.
Yeah.
I think
Whether
we,
or not
I think
that's
we
true.
should go to the north side because the south side sucks.
What was, were we right? Was the thing that was on the ceiling, the skeleton that was on the ceiling that crawled when we first went in to the sepulcher room, and then there was an intelligence to those skeletons
Oh, yes, there was.
until who took it out?
Inara, of
Me.
course.
Got a
Yeah.
crit.
And
Critted him hard.
I critted like 2 or 3 times.
Gosh, she has
in
just
the
been
last few
I'm
Back
sessions.
in
so
the
thankful
undead.
you're here.
It's been good.
Nara has been living up to the
But-
frontline death machine.
That
Yeah.
+1 weapon's
Yeah.
now active, right?
Yeah. Although this newest room is kind of starting to turn out like the lizard situation.
Yes, I'm worried about
So
Nara.
I'm a
I was
little
going to
bit
say
worried.
it's like that balance of luck.
Yeah.
Thanks, Fawin. So crit, natural one, natural one, natural one,
Yeah,
and then balances
that's
out.
true.
So
Yep.
many ones.
Luckily, those were, quote unquote, they were when we were just trying to open up the
That
sepulchers.
is true.
Yes. Luckily, we didn't
You guys
drop on
got
our
what,
foot or
4
something.
ones in a row?
Yeah.
3 ones in a row?
Yeah,
3 ones and
It
a
was
2.
like, yeah, it was 3 and a 2. 3
it was
ones.
crazy.
Plame
Yeah.
rolled a 1 on a fortitude check, but fortunately had a
Hero point.
to
Oh,
spend.
yes.
And
Yep.
Yeah.
Inara did as well, I think.
Speaking of which, I'm glad we're starting a new session for when we come back to this fight, so Inara can have an extra hero point.
that's awesome.
That is a good point. That is a good point.
All right, I think
Or
from
the
now on, each
DM
session can only
just-
be one episode.
Or the DM can just forget this fight even started,
Yeah.
and we can just start back.
Who remembers? What were we doing? Who knows?
These battles have all been great. One of the things it does for me is that the monsters have been different and new
Yeah.
enough that it gives me that very old school feel of even Brook as the player doesn't know exactly what these things are or what they're doing. It's not like, for example, facing a troll and quote unquote everybody knows that they're
Yep.
susceptible to fire and
And acid.
regenerate, and acid. And so you're like, okay, in the back of my head, the player kind of knows how to handle this situation, even if it's a first level or third level person experiencing it. But these guys, how many times we're like,
What is that?
What is that?
You had the birds with the feathers that were beautiful, but
Yeah.
they had the steel edged
And let me tell you,
swooping thing.
Yeah,
Oh,
that
yeah.
was a crazy fight too.
cool attacks and
There have
movement.
been, out of the 4 combats, there have been 3 unique monsters.
that are from this module.
Yeah.
I think the creepiest has been, but still, it's the thing on the ceiling, right? I mean,
Yeah.
The
you think,
Skeletal Hell Knight.
when you think undead and you're like, oh, the shambling zombie or the skeleton. This thing was like Alien, right?
Yes.
From the Aliens, the second movie, just coming across the ceiling and
Yeah.
his head spinning around and
They're in the room, man.
And then the skeletons that were with it like moved into legitimate position to flank.
Yeah, they're moving into flank position.
And as a player, I almost thought, hey, Stacy, are they smart enough to know how to flank? And then we realized, holy crap, they're being controlled, or there's some intelligence in the room, right?
They,
fortunately the frontline fighters were in the room.
Oh my gosh, that was you and me, right?
yeah.
Yeah.
You're the 2 who stepped in.
Plame took a halberd to the guts, and I thought he was toast.
He was just about
pretty
touch and go there.
It was rough.
Yeah, I was scared. And the status effects are really showing their effect in this stuff. Between the hexes you put down with the bonuses and the negatives we've gotten from different things, the bleed effect was scary, and it kept those helmet horde things. What were those called?
The Hell Crowns.
Hell crowns. Never heard of it. That thing.
Another unique monster.
That is nasty. I love those concepts.
I love your description. And Stacy showed the picture, and then you described it, right?
Yeah.
And that was just like, these ghostly apparitions with the helms floating.
Yeah.
It's a helmet with kind of a shadowy apparition below it.
It's like a nasty helmet jellyfish of death. God, they're
And it
sick.
shoots nails.
It shoots
Spits
nails.
nails at you.
Burrowing nails.
Again, was that just synchronicity and a little bit of luck that you have Order of the Nail, Stagger doing the nail reckoning, obedience thing, and now these things throw out nails? Or was that a little bit of planning on your part?
A little bit of planning on my part. I had him do
brilliant.
the nail thing because I was like, I'm going to set you guys up for this. That this is a theme. They like nailing things.
Yeah.
It feels really good. It felt very like immersive, because these monsters are taking on the characteristics of their former lives.
Yeah, they're like twisted versions of their former lives.
It's so bad.
Yeah. There's not much worse whenever you get hit by something and the DM says, roll a fortitude
Correct.
save, or roll this
A
other
will
thing.
save.
Yes, or a
Everything
will
has
save.
had
Yeah.
Yes,
status
unless we
effects.
forget. That was a fun one, right? With the birds.
Yes.
And stagger 'em.
Exactly. I've been trying. Out of all the things that we faced, nothing scared me more than when Stagrum got confused. I was like, oh crap. This could get nasty fast. This dude is a beast. So yeah, that scared me a lot when
The
he got
Empire
confused.
birds or world
Yeah,
birds or whatever
yeah,
they're
the
called.
Imperial birds, something like
Imperial
that.
birds, I think is what they're
And,
Birds of
and
Paradise?
Emperor birds.
Emperor
Yeah,
birds.
it was
Emperor birds.
And because Stagrum, when he got confused, he was closest to Fawin and Plame. I was like, oh no, this is
Yeah,
one
he was
hit time.
next to people who were
Yeah.
squishy.
Yeah.
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 And another,
Yeah.
what's that?
Emperor bird.
Emperor
Emperor
birds.
birds, yeah.
And another great thing about the dice was that Stacy's rolling the dice to see who does he attack and in what order does he attack.
Yep.
And if, for example, he had attacked Fawin early in his actions, the map would not have applied, and she would have been toast. But there were more than once.
Yes.
She 1, 2, 3. What's the order he's going to attack? Luckily, she was the third one that he was swinging at.
Yep.
And
Bird
even then,
body.
he was only missing her by a couple points.
Yeah, and that's with a -10 penalty, right?
Yeah.
On the map, the
could've-
multiple attack
He
penalty.
could have absolutely pulverized you.
Oh, it would have been
Yeah.
toast.
Could have been bad.
Yeah. The dice favored you.
Yeah.
And then
Somewhere, even in his confusion, he was still trying to go after the monsters.
And that started with me as a player, it just makes perfect sense, completely misreading what the familiar's doing, right?
Yep.
Mesmer's across the hallway going, no, and it's no, don't come over here. And I thought, I was being a cat, stupid
because
cat.
you told her to come to him. You told him to
did.
come to you.
Yeah.
So you thought he was being stubborn.
Yeah.
But he was like, no, not.
He wasn't going to cross the hallway because he knew something was behind that desk. And Fawin's like, oh, you stupid cat. So she just walks out into the hallway.
Which was really poor timing, because that was when Boddy was going to do some, first aid on Plame.
Oh yeah, Plame was hurting.
That got
He went to
interrupted.
First aid, and then they get
Speaking
attacked.
of Mesmer, do
Yeah.
we get to talk about it yet, or no?
Oh gosh, I can't see the future. I bet we do. I bet we do. So we might have had a backstory. Yeah, let's talk about it. And if we end up editing this, we'll edit this part out. If it hasn't happened yet, we'll save it for later.
It is.
But yeah, speaking of,
I was just gonna say I was surprised that Fawin cared that much
yeah,
about something, about anything.
Really?
But
Ouch.
I mean, Fawin
honest.
showed a lot of emotion in that backstory, which she doesn't really do now. So
yeah, you wonder how much stuff she's bottling a little bit because
Trauma.
yeah, she had to put that away and she pretends like she doesn't care.
Yep.
Whenever there might be some things just really close to the surface.
Stagger will tell you that's fatty health. Do that.
But no, I just thought it was interesting.
Yeah, more
Very
insane.
different.
So a few episodes ago, there was the eating of the scrolls, and we talked about that's the way that a familiar, a witch class works with the familiar, and now we had a flashback in which we haven't seen how they met yet, but we have seen that Mesmer's there at the house, and Mesmer is the one that helps Fawin unlock magic.
And Mesmer's in charge.
Yeah,
So
pretty much.
Although this is not player knowledge, I don't think, but in fact, I think it was mentioned before that Fawin doesn't know this, but since Mesmer's not really a cat,
No?
Yeah.
doesn't die, so you could kill Mesmer and he would be back the next day.
Or would he?
Dun, dun,
Well,
dun.
if he wanted to be.
Yeah.
So that could have been fun because, they were like in the flashback taking Mesmer out to the shed to take care of it. It could have gone a different way and you could have killed
That
the
would have
cat
been
and then the next
wild.
day
The cat
would
comes
be back.
back.
Yeah. The
Yeah.
cat came back the very next day.
That would have been an interesting.
That would
That
have
would
been,
have been freaky.
that would have been freaky.
It's like a pet cemetery situation.
And then the question would be, would your parents believe you?
Yeah, that she had
That
taken
you'd
care
actually
of it.
taken care of it, or would they think that you were trying
Yeah.
to pull a fast one? And
Oh, that
here's
would have
this
been an
cat?
interesting flashback too, to be like, we told you to take care of that cat. And she's all like, I did. I cut his little throat with my own sickle. And then,
God.
and then he's like, meow. That would be crazy.
And how
Well, personally,
I get the image of Fawin, and she's like, just got like, cat burial after cat burial after cat burial.
Terrible.
I'm really glad that that's not the way that worked out.
oh my gosh. Mesmer the first, Mesmer the second.
They're just having a meltdown back there behind the shed.
No wonder she's traumatized.
Yeah.
No, but like any good cat owner, she chose the cat over her parents.
The most realistic
So-
thing I've seen.
Yeah.
I'm guessing her parents were not like training her to become a witch.
No.
So that.
No, I guess the
Wonder
dad
how
was
that-
kind of a sorcerer in his time.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was a wizard,
He was a
right?
nice guy, yeah. I think so.
Yeah, oh, you did a fantastic job bringing him to life, even better than I imagined him. That was great.
Yeah.
Which may or may not have been tough considering some things, but
Yeah,
yeah.
considering what things?
Well, there was the flashback with Plame.
Yes.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Very similar looking fellow out on the battlefield.
True, there was.
Although younger,
Yep.
handsomer.
These connections that are starting to build between our backstories is
Kind of
interesting.
crazy.
And if you listen very closely, Stacy's dropped another one as well.
Uh-oh.
So,
Someone's getting called.
So actually, there was a couple of those because there was also the time when Boddy and Inara and Fawin were working to try to open up the sepulchres, and Plame had a chance to chat with Stagger by himself. And Plame's starting to make some connections with remembering from the flashback, the dream, the memory,
yes.
and the scratched demon faces that are only apparently the Order of the Nail.
They're the
symbols.
only order that uses them.
Yep.
And
Yep.
so I thought Stagnum's response was kind of interesting too.
Yeah.
When I asked him, what if they're just innocent people? What if you made a mistake?
And he's like, innocent goblins, you think so silly.
Yeah, he's like, ha, 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 ha.
Yeah.
Out of curiosity,
Yeah, he had
They couldn't be innocent. They were goblins. Dun dun dun. That's the way I took that. Maybe I misheard it.
maybe, or maybe he's
Softening.
fighting some confusion.
Ah.
So like he keeps
Well, I
on
mean,
saying
if
the
you
plate.
know-
Oh, go ahead.
But if you know his father's story, you could probably understand his opinion on goblins.
Yes.
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 And yet
And yet,
he puts up with Plame. He hasn't killed him yet.
Nor Boddy, who might even be more dangerous in a way.
But he did mention clearing out the goblins
He did.
Oh yeah, but he did.
among the vermin.
So he has self-control.
Yes. Or is he just patient?
That too.
Because we're useful, and until this battle, we've been fodder
So
down here.
there was an interesting thing there that I don't know if we'll expand on later, but at the end of that conversation, and Plame patted Stagger him on
A thigh.
the thigh.
Uh-huh.
And Stagger got a confused look on his face.
Did a healing take place? I wondered if a healing took place.
It did. I think it did.
Maybe. See, that was something Stacy and I kind of talked about. So you've got Caden Colleen. He's chaotic, but he's very good. In fact, in his backstory, if he was a mercenary, but if he felt like the job that he was being assigned to was something that went against his ethics, then he would abandon the job, which would cause strife with the other mercenaries that he worked with, because they're like, this is a job, a job's a job, you're professionals, and he's like, I don't care. Right? Well, now, will he reach out his, divine hand to help someone who is evil?
Yeah, Hell Knights tend to be a bit on the lawful, and a lot on the lawful, and a bit on the evil side.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Are they actually lawful evil? Player knowledge?
They don't have to be,
They don't have to be.
but they tend to be.
But many are, yeah.
Yeah, that's
So that was-
underpinnings of the order.
I get the feeling Stagger's maybe not leaning quite so heavily that direction.
That's what I was going to say, is I do not see him in the evil category at all.
And this is why he's a disappointment to his family.
Oh, you must do what is necessary.
That's right.
Right? Oh my goodness.
Yeah, there's some messed up stuff in his background.
Yeah. I do wonder who's using who right now, right? Because we as players, or at least Brook as a player, definitely feels like we're using Stagger. I'm like, yeah, he needs to stay in the party, and now Stacy's making him likable, which is like, right? It makes him harder to be expendable. But maybe we're the ones being used.
It's possible. But, Plame has a good feeling about him, I think. Of course, he's a little bit optimistic, a little Pollyanna, but he has a good feeling for him. He thinks that there's some good inside of him, even if it's buried under the strictures and the honor and self-control.
Yeah.
Flame's kind of been on like a moral high
He has.
recently. Very odd.
It's very strange, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, ever since he's had a drink from the good draught.
Yep.
Yep.
Oh, you're welcome, by the way, for the wine.
Oh yeah, it was great. Yeah, that you brought some from town. So that was just a little side note thing. Meanwhile, Inara / Anakin over there is like, I'll kill everybody that touches my sword. The women, the children,
Yeah.
the younglings.
No, she probably would not kill everyone like that.
Just punch him a lot.
She's chaotic
punch 'em a lot.
good for,
Right, correct.
Ish.
player knowledge.
I'd be chaotic dead if
Yeah.
this is scary.
But no, she would not go around killing people as much as she talks about it.
Yeah. But that's very interesting. Like as much as Inara talks about, let's go kill something, she does have a compassionate side to her, though, for sure.
She just
At least
likes
for
it.
animals.
She's like a tough guy. She wants to be tough, but she's
but how
kind of
much of it
soft
is-
on the inside.
I mean, maybe we'll find out later, but how much of it is tough guy and how much of it is a facade to keep, yourself protected,
That is true.
Mm.
She probably would not be self-aware enough to know that with a 8 intelligence.
Yeah. I cannot wait till we find out more about this sword. Like that reaction when she wakes up, where the heck is Fang, right? Was such a good reaction. And then we had the flashback,
Yeah.
and now she's just kicking butt, taking names. Like she's had some training and stuff. And so,
Hell Knights.
yeah. How did this little girl at the park become this raging, but yet I love it happened right before it happened in the most recent episode. You just do such a great job with this idea of controlled rage.
I mean, you don't have to play it that way. That's just the way that I play it. Technically, I have a ability where whenever we enter initiative, technically barbarians can rage automatically if you want to.
Very nice.
But I have not been using that.
And yet
Just
you've been
'cause I feel
slaughtering
like-
my poor defenseless monsters.
Well, I mean, you don't have to play it that way. I just feel like it's kind of the way that I wanted to play Inara, where she's not just raging for no reason.
Mm-hmm.
But also, just on the mechanic side, raging lowers your armor class by
Yeah,
one.
that is also
And in
true.
Pathfinder, every
Point.
1
Oh,
point
yeah,
matters,
yeah.
right? 1 point is the difference between success and a critical success, right?
Yeah, there was a crit on her at the end of the last game.
That was not fun.
Because it was exactly what they needed. They will.
What?
It was an adjusted 29.
Well, yeah, but she hadn't raged yet.
Yeah.
Right, but we're just talking about
No,
the
Yeah,
one.
the one.
Yeah,
That one point would have made a difference.
1 point would have been the difference between crit and non-crit. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And Pathfinder plays that a lot, I think,
Yeah.
with the flat-footed mechanics.
You
Which-
guys have done pretty
Being
good.
a rogue, I like the flat-footed mechanics because it also gives me extra damage besides just the lowering their armor class.
Have you been counting the +1 for the backstabber on the?
No, I forget that a lot.
Yeah, me too.
So I think it might be factored in.
So the dog slicer is unique. It's a backstabber weapon, which means you get +1 damage when they're flat-footed or they're off guard. Sorry. So also in real life, I'm fighting a fortitude/will save because I ate way too much at lunch. This is our Thanksgiving weekend right now. We're recording on, and I made a bunch of comfort food for us.
Jeremy made us a whole Thanksgiving
It was pretty
dinner.
special.
Yeah.
If
was
you
amazing.
if you have probably seen it already, if you're a member of the Patreon,
Oh, yeah.
then you can have seen that picture probably. We have the free level where you can see stuff and get little announcements and things like that. But that $5 and up level, you can see map pictures and you can see pictures of us hanging around at the table. Character sheets are on there too. If you haven't had a chance to check those out.
Plus the $5 gives you access to the Discord, right?
Exactly, $5 to Discord as well. So
Get all the little details.
you betcha.
I have a fun question for the roundtable. How do you think Thanksgiving dinner would go between our characters and
Oh,
their
that is an
families,
outstanding question.
including Alec?
I don't know that any of us could cook.
Actually, now that you bring that up, Inara actually has a passion for cooking.
Really? We
Just
learned
has
something new.
never.
We had to have
have
cold
met-
cat stew, and you have a passion for cooking.
She has not been sober enough to
Cold
do
cat
that
stew.
yet.
Yeah, you need to definitely
So-
get that going with her.
No,
Yeah, yeah.
it's.
Oh.
I have it as a whole part of her character.
That's awesome.
It's just that she has been so inebriated lately that she has not done it. And also, her player has forgotten about it.
So actually, what I would envision for Thanksgiving would be this, a just poorly cooked, terrible meal that's in front of us, and then Boddy prestidigitation, and it all looks like this gourmet. This is the best turkey I've ever had in my life, as I'm chunking through the fingernails and toenails.
It's just old tofu, and I make it taste like whatever you want it to taste like.
Yeah.
Which immediately makes me think of a scene from a Madame Lingle book. It's from the Wrinkle in Time series, where they're all the kids are in this other, being manipulated by this other entity. They're all eating sand except for the girl Meg, who's able to realize, break through the mental illusion, and so that's prestidigitation works for that. Adds flavor to it. We can do that.
I don't know if it would add flavor to sand. Maybe.
Well, I feel like a lot of our characters' families are not alive anymore, I'm going to guess.
Fawins are still, as we know. So
Yeah,
they're
really?
still, yeah. They may even be, they
Looking
may
for
or
it.
may not
We
even
don't
be
have
looking
to give
for
it
it.
away, but
So
That just adds some fun to the whole party. So we have a high-level wizard and a Hell Knight on the lookout for who kidnapped their daughter.
Yep.
it's possible. It's possible.
Neat.
So yeah. So
But I'm sure the wizard is a nice
we all
guy.
might go to jail.
He probably likes goblins, I'm sure.
Well, you can always count on a Hell Knight Court to be fair and factual, and then you are sentenced.
At least
You are sentenced.
you know they're efficient.
yeah, but it was in, and that's another great thing about some of our backgrounds, is that Fawin's parents met in the Goblin Blood Wars, right?
Yeah.
And, Plame's life was changed by an incident in the Goblin Blood Wars. Boddy was, again, he's young like the rest of us.
He's
So-
21. Let me see.
So born just after the Goblin
Alex,
Blood
the old
Wars.
man,
Yep.
How old is Alec?
mid-20s.
The Goblin Blood Wars ended for the rest of the world, but afterwards the Hobgoblins just had infighting the whole time. So they've continued that militaristic, nastiness toward each other, vying for power.
And there is a connection with Inara's
She's 20.
parents
Yes.
and the Goblin Blood Wars.
Yeah.
Which we saw in her flashback
Yes.
when the Hell Knights came into town and her mom was like, we need to go.
Yeah.
Need to go.
Which, by the way, special shout out to our friend Jessica, your friend.
Yes.
Yeah.
My best friend.
Never heard of her.
And she
Yep, never heard of her.
she helped out and played the role,
Of Inara's mother.
yeah,
Yeah.
in that flashback. So
Yeah, it was amazing.
Stacy jokes because it's his niece.
That's where I knew her from. Thanksgiving.
That's what it was.
Yeah, she brought the quinoa and Brussels sprouts. We
Yeah.
disowned her.
Yeah.
Magnamar, and again, our
Yes.
our fourth action this month feels like we're just jumping all over the place, but
It's
Perfect.
That's fine.
But,
That's the way it is.
But Inara's backstory, flashback, Magnamar is a big time city.
Yes,
in
it is.
Magnamar,
It is
city
like-
of monuments.
It's like
Yep.
one of the biggest coastal cities, I think.
At least on that coast.
So even bigger than Breach
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah, considering Breach Hill's like the size of Tonkwall, yes.
Yeah, 2,000 people in Breach Hill. Probably what, 20,000 people in Magnamar?
Oh, it's more
no.
than
Is it
that.
big?
40 to 50.
Oh my goodness.
We
Yeah,
can
it's a
look it
big
up
one.
right now.
Yeah, for sure.
Mag-
Pause for edit.
More.
And Magnamar in which country?
Pathfinder.
It's in Varisia.
It's in Varizia.
The greatest of countries, of course.
Not lowly Isger
I like Isker. It's quaint. It has charm
and lots of goblins.
and lots
Looks
of
like
goblins.
it's 16,000.
Okay.
16 and a half.
It's pretty big for fantasy purposes.
13,000 humans, 800 halflings, 700 dwarves, 700 elves, 500 gnomes.
Yeah, but the halflings and dwarves only count for half.
What are those? There's another word.
Dromars?
Oh, Dromars.
Oh, Dromars. Yeah.
Yeah.
Still getting used to the new. Alvarians are the half-elves.
The big
Alvarians.
city.
Yeah. And so Magnamar is on the coast to the northwest.
It's in the northwestern coast.
And then Isger is kind of center south, sort of south central.
Yeah, south central. There is a thing like of her mother wearing this beaded top, which is a thing in Isger.
Yeah, which is really cool whenever you did that in the flashback. And we had the beaded curtains from the Wizard's Grace, which has an Isgari element to it. That was pretty cool.
Shout out to Stacy for adding some of the flavor.
Thank you.
Doing all the cool DM things.
Yeah, the backstories are getting juicy. And I love the tie-ins to the storyline that we're going through in the campaign have been really good. I'm very excited.
Yeah. And it's interesting that little Inara was like, ooh, look, Mama Knights, and then her dad
Very
being in
excited.
like some type of gladiator, city watch type of thing. That's cool.
Yeah.
Naivete.
Yep.
She'll grow out
Fawin's,
of it one day.
Fawin's parents being involved. One is a Hell Knight. The other one aided in the Goblin Blood Wars on the side of the Hell Knights.
It's all connected.
And then Plame being a victim of them,
Yes.
his
Yeah.
family.
Which
Great.
we didn't necessarily talk about that beforehand, did any of us? I don't recall us sharing much backstory as we first came to the table.
Nope.
No.
And then we just happen to have a Hell Knight-centric castle in the module.
With
Yeah.
the Hell Knight in it. Well, what a be Hell
I mean, it's just nuts. And I knew a little bit about the Hell Knights before we started playing this campaign from like Pathfinder 1 stuff, but not that much. So none of us really had much interaction with Hell Knights. We just happened to include them.
Well, you are right there next to Cheliax, and
True.
we're going to Hell Knight Hill, so
Yeah, but we didn't know that.
No, we didn't know ahead of time.
No.
I will say I'm not as well versed in the lore as you guys are.
That's all right.
So I have not
Well, you have a
heard of
life.
Hell Knights before. But also, here's an excuse. Inara has an 8 intelligence.
Not.
She doesn't know anything about anything.
But at least her wisdom is high, right?
Yeah, no,
10.
it's a 10.
We are.
But-
Shout out to Michael Cross. We are the non-wisdom party, right?
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah, he even
That's
mentioned
okay.
that in the lead up to the new
He
show.
did. He mentioned that in the campaign 3 trailer for Red Dirt.
Yes.
Okay, so to segue off of Michael Cross, there was
Yes.
another thing that kind of happened in this one that tied into the other campaign. What's that? We stumbled across a new, and maybe it ties into the Thanksgiving dinner. We'd all be sitting around eating these heroes' lunches.
Yeah, these heroes' lunches. And how are those? They're very intricate. How are those created again?
So, like you take your loaf of bread, you have to cut it in half.
And slice like long ways
long ways, and then you got to pile, meat and whatever on top of it.
on one side.
On one side, and you put the top on it, put the bread back together.
That's amazing. And you chop it up with a knife, or you just use your hand.
So, and if anyone's listening who, for whatever reason, only listens to Wayfinders and doesn't listen to the other shows in the network, you're missing out. Go and listen to the Tales of the Ironwoods.
Tales from the Ironwoods. Yep.
Yeah.
Or even the original.
Yep. There's a great shout out with Johnny Payne and Michael Cross and sandwiches, and so it's just stuck. It's even shown up in a couple of the YouTube shows that we have as well.
Yeah.
So that are part of the network as well. So that's been just a fun little Easter egg.
Deep sandwich lore.
That's right, sandwich lore.
It's a deep cut.
And it was just spur of the moment thing, and it was like, oh yeah, we got to do this now. We're here. Lunch, yeah, got to go.
Hero's lunch for Thanksgiving.
What else would we eat?
I think Inara would bring a couple kegs of beer to Thanksgiving.
Of course she would.
She'll just be that drunk aunt. Everyone has that one aunt that is drunk at Thanksgiving.
Nice.
That is Inara.
I feel like this might be a moment to talk about players and characters, because unless Emily's keeping things secret from us, right? I feel like your outlook toward alcohol and Inara's are very different.
Oh yeah, not at all the same person, but it's fun.
Yeah.
It's fun to role play it. I am not a raging alcoholic, and in case
That is the clear sign of denial. No.
It is the first sign.
Despite what you might think from listening to the show.
so you know.
Yeah, she's actually.
But yeah, and even Jeremy's talked about it, where Boddy is kind of very much not as outgoing as he is.
He's very introverted. He's very emo. What are you like, Jeremy?
Just dead on. It's just me. No.
Yeah.
It's funny. We've all gravitated toward characters that are very different than we are in real life.
Mm-hmm.
Like Hal's very quiet, reserved, thoughtful. Whereas Plame is just a bundle of energy and outgoing. Very, very, very different personality-wise.
Lives in the moment.
No
there's no
filter.
He's running up and
But
grabbing
that's also
people and
Hal.
touching them and stuff. Yeah.
If there are two people that can definitely create moments that end up on the cutting room floor because we don't have that kind of rating on our podcast.
Yes.
And there's Stacy and Hal. Very wonderful, reserved, but God, Hal, your wit is just so sharp. And
I
these
don't know what
things.
you're talking about. And now I'm offended.
He was just building a treehouse.
And that was not me.
Yeah.
I just made mention the fact that it only had to be 4 feet tall.
And if you don't know what we're talking about, that's because it got cut out of the outtakes. Something about justice and Hell Knights and rope. And so that's all we'll say about that.
And Fawin is extremely rude and
Obnoxious.
very self-centered.
condescending.
So Brook is the exception that proves the
That's
rule.
first right.
That is Brook.
And Brook in real life is extremely gregarious and kind and very thoughtful.
9 times out of 10.
Yeah. Now his inner thoughts may be different, but outwardly he's extremely nice. Yeah, I wouldn't say half the things that Fawin does, which is why it's so fun to hear you play this character.
Yeah. And we've talked about before, like those opening episodes where I'm like, what is this attitude coming out of my mouth? We just,
Oh, I think we all know.
You know it's going to be good when Fawin says something and Brook winces.
Yeah.
That's true. That's true. Yes, if there was video camera, you would see Fawin saying something like, "Of course you did, dear," and then Brook just go, like, just like tuck his head down, tilt to one side, like, oh.
Or when you still mess up Inara and Fawin.
So he'll mess up Inara and Fawin.
Yeah, it's fun. I think that's one of the best things about role playing is that you can play these personalities and you can get
You get to try on a new personality for a couple hours and to see what it's like.
Yeah.
And if
Go
you're
be
the
somebody
GM,
different.
if you're the GM, you get to talk to yourself and nobody looks at you funny.
Yeah,
I do. I have long conversations with No, that's actually true. I just have conversations with myself.
that I believe.
But the character, but like you guys, the characters I portray, the NPCs I portray, are kind of an opposite of me. I mean, for example, Alec does not want the entire party to be arbitrarily slaughtered.
No,
Does he?
he wants it to serve a purpose.
Yes, he wants us to sort of hey,
Slaughter,
how nice
maybe, but not
about
arbitrary.
order,
Yeah.
about order.
Yeah, your death will be
Orderly slaughter.
yes, your death will be useful and functional.
Exactly. Thank you.
That's awesome. I am extremely happy that now that Boddy is level 2, he can actually heal things.
Oh my goodness, that was so
Oh my
wonderful.
God.
That is nice when you do
It's
that.
Like-
finally happened.
3, yeah, it's still not where I want it to be. I'm still like wincing and nervous every time I roll the dice, but crazy difference 2 points can make in this game. Mm-hmm. Yeah, or is it 3? 3 points, sorry, 3 points.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, from a +3 bonus to a +6 bonus has made a huge difference in the effectiveness of this. And the fact that you guys let me do risky surgery every time. Boddy's like, which one do you want? You're like, do the one you want. Okay. And Boddy like gets noticeably excited about cutting on someone. Yeah.
Because
Well,
it's what he's had the most practice with.
He's been getting better at it.
Yep. He said he'd get better.
I feel like the team is starting to trust him a little bit.
Yes, which is still an odd feeling for Boddy. Not sure how to take that.
Even though these battles have been really tight, really close, like, Plame went down, but very close and needed healing, and then Fawin very, very close and needed healing. I feel like we, knock on wood, we are starting to synchronize with our abilities and such.
Yeah, I was going to bring that up. So, first level, we pretty much relied on healing potions and, the luck of the roll with Boddy, which was like a 25% chance. Right?
Yeah.
Not great. And then, second level now, Boddy's just killing it with the surgeries.
Yep. It's been good.
Plus, whatever's going on with Plame, right? That's weirdness.
Yeah. Sticky note. I want to come back to that, but go on.
And then, Fawin
Yeah.
suddenly picking up a heal. So, we went from whole conversations about are we sure we want to go without a dedicated healer to suddenly everybody has healing ability just about, right? Except for maybe Inara. And even Inara we
except
find,
for Inara.
even Inara has first aid.
Now let's just wait and see what happens if Inara goes down in this fight.
Oh,
How do
yeah.
we feel about that?
Yeah. Hal ended up, off of that, you ended up taking, if it's okay if I say it, the Blessed One dedication. And that ended up being super important because we realize it gives us access to divine spells. Or at least, the wand that we found anyway. Otherwise, it would have been useless to us.
But now, divine scrolls
Yeah.
will be useful to us instead of just being like money. It could be very interesting. It's a very because we had no divine caster at all.
So let's real quick dip into that in case our listeners that are out there don't want to go and dig around to figure out what that means. So in Pathfinder, which is different than D&D, when you go up a level, you have your class and you have class feats that you can take every level, but you don't have to. And it's a really cool thing. You can substitute a feat from a different genre, a different class or whatever. Archetype. A different archetype. It's an archetype feat. And you can customize your character.
Yep.
So when I was looking through, we gone up to second level, but we had some time to figure out what we wanted to do with our characters. And I'm looking through and I'm thinking to myself, well, I know Boddy's going to improve his healing, but what happens if Boddy's knocked out? And it's happened in the past, right?
Yes.
So I figured, well, and part of it was playing off of Glim and that whole thing when we went up the level. I decided to play off of that. And so I took the Blessed One archetype, which mechanically, the storyline is some deity has taken an interest in you for whatever reason. You're not a cleric, you're not devoted into a religion, but they've taken an interest in you and give you certain things that you can do, which in my case, in Plame's case, if you haven't figured it out, it's lay on hands.
Yeah.
Which is kind of cool because it's lay on hands, but if you do it in combat, it's lay on hands and you do it to somebody, an ally, not yourself. It gives them 6 points of healing, but it also, for 1 round, buffs their armor class by 2.
Nice.
And we saw that, I think, in one of our battles.
Very, very helpful.
But since it's not something that necessarily you go out and do, this is not something Plame searched out or went to find. And the reasons maybe are because of that meshing with Glim and Kalian. And his areas of interest are things like heroics and bravery and freedom. And thinking about the party and their backstory with obviously Plame and the quest to be a hero, but also breaking free from some of that repressed trauma, and Boddy escaping from his bondage with militaristic structure that he was in, and Fawin escaping from her family's pressure to trying to get her to do something she does not want to do.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Yeah.
There's maybe some more in that too. And maybe, even Inara with the heroics and of course the time with the drinking.
Yeah, that feels like that's hiding a little bit of something as well, right?
Right. So all that to me, I thought maybe this is enough, along with the flashback that we've started the whole campaign with Fawin and Plame and the fortune teller hut and the
Crystal ball.
The crystal ball and that view of the future is destiny that this party has drawn the attention of Kellian. And so that was why I kind of took that. But it's been very fortunate because now, like you said, we've tapped in. We realized when we found this particular wand that was activated through divine tradition.
Instead of a school of
tradition.
magic, Pathfinder calls it the
Tradition.
Yeah,
Pretty
tradition.
sure.
But neither one of them could use this healing wand. But Plame, who still isn't convinced that he's the one that is doing this healing, but
yes.
he was still able to activate with a little bit of guidance from Fawin. He was able to activate the wand of healing. So
It's crazy that Plame doesn't even realize he's doing it.
I love that.
Which was
It's
where
so
my sticky
fun.
note was from earlier, is that how wonderful you are doing in role playing that, right?
Yeah.
Because it would be, and it ties into one of Emily's favorite things. It would be so easy just to be like, oh yeah, I now know all these things because my player chose this archetype feat, and instead you're
fun.
Yeah, you're doing
Something
fun
that-
with it.
Something that adds flavor to the character.
Oh, it does.
Makes it a lot more interesting.
it's every 10 minutes. If he wanted to, whenever we had a 30-minute break, Plame could heal himself 3 times. But he doesn't know that he can and doesn't
Right.
necessarily believe he can, and he never has. So he hasn't healed himself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe it handicaps a few things.
This is like a flavor thing where it's actually useful.
Uh-huh.
I mean, we have kind of been lacking healer.
Yeah.
Although
You know.
Body's been
Yeah.
knocking it out of
He's
the
been
park.
doing it. He's been doing a lot better.
I mean,
Oh, yeah.
Been.
mine,
Step it up.
what Plane can do, or what, Caden can do is he heals 6 points every 10 or so minutes. But Boddy, man, he's over there. Oh yeah, here's 4 die 6 worth of healing.
Yeah. 4 die 8.
4 die 8.
Yeah.
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 Yes, it takes 10 minutes, but I do have Boddy has gotten the ability to do it in combat now, but it's once per day. We keep fighting continuously in this dungeon.
Yeah, you'd think we'd be smart and take a break, but
We have fought so many things.
I think you're done.
but once again, we're not the wisdom party.
Hey, Fawin's out in the hallway. She'll just go re-recruit. So
Oh,
So here's the question: does Fawin think she can crawl through that tunnel faster than the undead?
yeah, I don't know, right? She
I think the question is, does she think she can crawl through that tunnel faster than you guys can flee?
No, if we're already dead. If we're already dead,
I just have to be faster than
just have to be faster than the goblin
Yeah, we've had a lot of
because you're not faster than Mesmer.
no.
Boy, Mesmer was able to book it.
Yeah.
yes, we've had a lot of danger like really dangerous encounters that
yeah.
we could lose someone at any point in time.
Yeah, you guys decided to, hey, let's do the dangerous side.
We're also fulfilling our mission and our promise. We're looking for the ring first.
Sure. All right, one last thing. Speaking of rings, right?
Uh-huh.
Yes. So we went through a handful.
Yeah.
That was so funny.
Not one of them was Stagram's ring.
Nope.
That was so funny to me. It's like, is this your ring? No. Ting, 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 ting. Is this your ring? No. Ting, ting, ting.
Yep.
And
Is this your ring?
apparently you had Plame roll a check for thievery, and he rolled a 1.
Yeah, there was a very valuable ring. It wasn't his ring, but there was a high value ring that you just chunked aside. That's worth good cash.
Yep. So if anybody else comes down into this dungeon, they should look over there with the.
Yeah. Just lay it on the
They can
ground,
find a really nice ring just laying there.
Boddy was just looking for magic. He didn't care about the money.
Yeah.
I think we're getting close to the end of our round here. So before we go, favorite moments or quotes or anything from the last few sessions, guys? Go.
My favorite moment was when I asked Plame to give me reassurance and pat me on the bum, and he did.
It didn't heal you. He just told you nice things and slapped.
Good game.
Good game.
Good game.
Yeah, that was interesting.
The table went quiet, and I was like, excellent. Nice effect.
So weird.
Yeah. But it didn't heal him, unfortunately. Yeah.
I think my favorite moment was killing 3 things within a span of like
you.
2 turns.
Yeah, Inara went
Ginsu.
Those hell crown spirits, what are they called?
Hell
Hell crowns.
God, they're nasty.
Man, I could just, that was so imaginative too.
Yeah.
You just like,
Just running in.
bong, dang, you know.
Yeah, she's just, oh, look, it's a floating helmet. Chop, chop, chop.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The rest of us are like
Doesn't
going after the etherealness, and she's like, no, you hit him in the hard part. Twang.
Yeah.
Yeah. Not her first time killing helmets.
Apparently.
Really not.
Okay, what about you guys?
I think my favorite out of this was the point when Fawin's trying to convince Plame that he can use this wand, and she's standing behind him, and she's got his arm, and she's moving his arm through these motions, and then the wand flares, and Boddy heals, and scares the crap out of Plame, and he drops the wand and scatters, steps back 5 or 6 steps.
It's a little bit selfish, but I mean it in a party way. I love the synergy of the fight whenever we are fighting the Hell Crowns.
Oh, yeah.
And
that was a tough fight.
yeah, and there was just that synergy of people moving into the front lines and Fawin buffing 3 or 4 people with the help of Mesmer.
Yeah, the buffs were awesome.
And then all that happened with that, we got a couple of people that were injured, and we rolled some knowledge checks, and then we figured out, one of them may have been Stagram's successful knowledge checks, where we figured out, they're anchored to the material plane when you can't kill them if they've got a nail in someone.
But as you bleed, they regenerate.
Yeah.
What a crazy,
And so,
Vampiric nails.
awesome mechanic, by the way.
Oh, and Stagram has been just rolling knowledge checks out of the park the last few sessions. He's been kind of meh in combat, but he's just been,
this is his place, right? This is the dice are telling the story.
And once again, I just can't imagine the difference it would be without him in our group right now. Like, tag him along. It would be a much harder campaign for multiple reasons. Like, not knowing what half this crap means. Like, he's a reference. He's a warm body to catch damage. He does very decent
If
damage.
he's not up there chanting and keeping himself in
He's
sanctuary.
not protecting himself. Yeah.
Well, he gave that up.
But there's the drawback of we have to be cautious now around things like
Stealing.
treasure, finding treasure,
Saucer.
Liberating
liberating.
the treasure.
That was an off-mic conversation we had, that as players we kind of could meta that the magic items in the sarcophagi or the sepulchers were
meant to help.
Yeah, they were meant to help. Like, the designers put them in there, but yet do we honor Stagram and not mess with it? And then Stacy gave us a very believable window.
Well,
Stacy
Inara came up with a great idea.
Yeah.
I know.
Yeah, it was
with
an
8
aura.
intelligence. But she's just kind of had this fascination with the mage hand.
Yeah.
I don't know why.
She wants to
Me as a
touch
player,
something
I don't
like
even
that,
know
yeah.
why, but
Yeah.
I assume she just wants it to like get a drink.
Oh yeah. You know, get a drink while you're fighting.
Many of the times she's been like, man, I want to quit punching this guy and go get a beer, but I have to keep punching this guy. If only a magic hand would just bring me a beer.
Boddy hasn't said it out loud yet, but he's thinking about the goblins were ferrying items out for somebody in town.
This is true.
He's already thought, what is Stagrim going to think about this? You know, how does he feel about that? Because once we clear these monsters and, you know, pretty much expunge these unnatural guardians, this place is going to be loot city for the people in town, whoever wants to loot that stuff.
There won't be any loot left.
Like all this...
Mage hand, mage hand, mage hand.
But all the...
I'm not touching you.
Yeah.
Plame's using mage hand on me again.
So we're being nice in his presence, but if he doesn't stick around to defend this place, it's all a toast. Like it's all going to get...
Yeah, Stagrim's he's had a strange time. And,
Yeah.
Which brings me to my favorite quote, which is I hate to say I'm quoting myself here, but it was an impromptu one.
Hey listeners, just a quick heads up that for the next 2 minutes or so, we talk about an NPC spoiler that's coming up in episode 33. If you don't mind, then keep listening. But if you want to be completely surprised by everything, then jump ahead to 103.10, where you can pick back up with Plame, with Hal, talking a little bit about mechanics. Thanks. See you on the flip side.
And,
Yeah.
Which brings me to my favorite quote, which is I hate to say I'm quoting myself here, but it was an impromptu one. Lictor Murillo, big fan.
Yes.
Yeah. When the enemy has a name and a backstory, I don't. Surely this isn't the boss fight at this level, right?
And fur coats.
and
that
fur
match
coats.
the-
Well, he did say
So
that they
many.
were embossed armor, so it's the embossed fight.
Wow.
There's the wit that hurts
No.
right there.
Embossed fight. It's awful.
Well, usually the boss fight
This
is
is
in
why-
like the furthest door, not
Yeah.
one of the hallways.
Well, this is behind
not
a
in the
secret.
secret door.
Correct.
Yeah.
So this is
And
like a secret boss.
I want to point out that going into this room, which was a terrible idea,
Every room we've gone into has been a terrible idea.
this was all Stagrim's idea. He was the one who brought this up.
Yeah. I do have a second favorite moment. Was when Inara raged and Boddy bolted down the hallway, double moved and used dimensional assault.
Ah, it's such a
And
cool
just
spell.
flashed behind that thing and started whacking it. Yeah, that really felt like a teamwork moment.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it was going to be nice. Hopefully, it makes a difference, and we down this thing before it kills one of us.
But then you let it heal. What'd you do that for?
I didn't let it.
To get to that room is this little narrow corridor.
Yeah.
And right now everybody's bunched up at the door, so
Yeah,
we
you
all
guys-
can't get in there to get to it.
It's
That's
kinda-
Fawin's excuse, and she's sticking to it.
Yeah, it's kind of good though because it's got you protected, so you can do buffs and damage from a distance.
Yeah.
As long as one of us doesn't die, we're kind of holding them in place, and we've got them flanked. So right now we've got a pretty big advantage. Both Plame and Inara and all 4 of the melee fighters right now have a flank on both of the bad guys.
Very important.
So it could make a huge difference in the numbers, like the +1s we're talking about. So
And if I remember that I do have backstabber and I could add that +1, then
yes.
That would be good. I bet Pathbuilder already adds it for you,
Nope.
but maybe not.
I got to look at it. It does not.
Oh,
You got to
okay.
think about it. Yeah.
You got to think about it. I didn't.
That's
But
plus
it's
one
all right.
to damage or to hit?
It's +1 to damage.
Damage.
Yeah.
Backstabber, if you do a sneak attack, no, if you hit a flat-footed creature, the weapon does 1 precision damage in addition to its normal damage.
And that's a weapon feature of the dog slicer?
yeah,
Yeah.
it's called backstabber. So
That's
I'm sure
cool.
that there are other weapons, but it's a weapon.
You've got to remember that, and I've got to remember that my next action should be to turn on my arcane, my arcane stance, arcane cascade stance to get bonus damage and movement, and then do my
Too many
spell strike.
rules to remember.
Yeah, the action, even with 3 actions, it's still hard to cram all the things you want to do into the turn. So
Yeah, what's with that?
Yeah,
It's wonderful.
it's such a great
Yeah.
Oh, it's a great
mechanic.
system.
I have not played Pathfinder 1E since we started playing this one. I am interested to see how I adapt going back to Pathfinder 1E.
Yeah.
To like see how it feels.
Free actions, swift actions,
Yeah.
immediate actions,
Ooh,
standard
so many
actions,
actions.
full attack
Yeah.
actions.
Speaking of which, not having enough time to do all the things you want. We have now been doing the fourth action for over an hour.
Oh, that's
So
amazing.
Oh,
probably
man.
need to cut it.
We need to give you guys out there a chance to tell us what your favorite moment was.
Yes.
So-
Please do.
Be sure and interact with us on social media, on on your podcast player with the review, on YouTube. Drop a comment in the episodes, any way you want.
Yeah, put something out there. We want to know. What do you love? What do you hate? What do you want to see more of? Which character should I bump off next?
Nominations for a replacement GM, that would be really good.
Thanks for following along this journey with us. Thanks for coming along and making it more fun.
I think it's time now.
To roll.
Roll for initiative!
Boom.
See ya.
Rise, Lords, in a